so much for coming. It's really, really lovely to have the opportunity to talk about this work in addition to just sharing it. And I really appreciate you all coming. And thank you, Hannah, for that very generous introduction. I think we're blushing a little bit.
We just wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone who supported this exhibition and the film. The St. Boniface Hospital Foundation, who the hospital in general is a real champion for including arts in healing, which is really special in our city. And the Manitoba Arts Council and the Winnipeg Arts Council, who supported this exhibition. Our curator Hannah, of course, and all the volunteers. So if you come to the gallery during regular hours, it's staffed by volunteers. And they learn about each exhibition, and they invite people in, and they can talk about the work, which is really amazing. And they're all really interesting people. And then also to our producer, Alicia, who is here. Yay, Alicia. The National Film Board produced this film, and so we worked with Alicia and a larger team across Canada to make this film. And then, of course, yeah, our musicians, Sam and Gil, and Andy Rudolph and Kelsey Braun, who did the music and the sound design for the film, so basically everything that you hear. And then thanks to all of you for coming. It means a lot to have you here, and it's been really exciting to share the film now that it's available online, but to also share the ephemera and the work that went into it, and to be able to surround people in all of that is really meaningful as well.
We thought, because it's such a short film, we would begin by watching it together. I'm not sure if everyone has seen it yet. So we'll play the film, and then Natalie and I will talk a bit about the process of making it and the stories that surround the project. We'll play it now?
We'll play it now.
Maybe I should turn this off so this doesn't go into there.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. It's just always so nice to watch it in a room with all these people that I love. So thank you for being here.
Yeah. If you couldn't see because you're in the back or there's a pillar in the way, you can watch it on the NFB website whenever you please. Kind of talked about this already.
Just do it again.
Okay. How to begin? I guess it's showing the film within this gallery space also feels really incredible, because we've created a sort of a body of work around it out of. We've created a body of work out of the ephemera and drawings from that we used to make the film, and so it's kind of we finished making the film, and then we took the drawings immediately out of the file boxes and then started collaging with them. So it felt really good to be able to do that immediately after finishing the film. What do you want to?
I think that's great.
We'll just kind of get going here.
We wanted to start by talking a little bit about the Misericordia Health Center art program that Toby and I both are part of as artists in residence, also with our friend Francesca, and just talk a little bit about the people we've met there. That's where we met Edith. So since 2011?
Yeah, I started the program in 2011, and it was in both parts of the hospital. So there's a healthcare center, and then there's also a personal care home. And so Edith we met when she was in the transitional kind of care section of the hospital, and then she moved to the long-term care, and that's how we maintained our relationship with her. kind of doing kind of like drop-in art workshops. Like they have common areas in the hospital or in the care home, and residents and patients kind of walk by and might be interested to participate. And we have met a lot of really wonderful personalities, and I think the most striking thing that I've experienced through the years in working there is, especially with patients that there used to be a lot more patients experiencing dementia or living with dementia, and the way their many facets of their personality have changed or are unrecognizable. But in their mark making, in their drawing, you can see this consistency in personality and in character and in creative output. And so I found that to be really rewarding. So yeah. These are Christmas cards for greedy great-grandchildren. One of my favorites from a long time ago. This is a man named Al Wilner, and he was a retired businessman. He looked like a businessman. Big fat tie, kind of polyester suit. Loved baseball, and he had never made art. And when he became hospitalized, he made a lot of art, and it became his new passion. And so, this is a sort of a drawing collage he made called Fast Moves, and he drew a lot of animals otherwise. Our friend Ina. Something else that came to mind while we were starting to plan this project is how many other people we might have developed a project like this with if they hadn't passed away or otherwise been not available to work with us on this. This woman was just made such wonderful drawings, very strange. This dog, she actually made the dog drawing too.
I know it.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Not the high sport, but the don't insult the dog. The thing on the right is a time machine that the man drew by tracing images from a watch ad, and I can't remember what prompted him to make that, but it certainly got us talking about what would happen if we could turn back time or change the flow of time. Lots of incredible conversations around the art making table. Part of the program has always been sharing the artworks with the community, so inviting the public into the hospital space to show artworks and to share, have an opportunity for people to interact and talk about their art. And I guess through doing that, we learned that Edith likes talking to people, and she likes sharing her thoughts on art and, well, really anything. Yeah, and she really likes being on camera. There's been several instances where the media was interested, so she really likes being on camera. So, anyways, this is, it's a nice looking nightgown. I guess we first just a nice drawing. I can't remember who made it.
Margaret.
Oh, Margaret. Yeah. About 10 years ago, we organized an exhibition that Hannah was the director at AceArt at the time. And so she allowed us to use the part of the gallery space to show work made by people living at Misericordia. And for that exhibition, we first interviewed Edith, as well as many other residents. And we used sort of a technique that we used for this film, which is sitting with our friends, the residents and the patients, and just showing them artworks that they had made with us at the table, and allowing that to just spark their imaginations just to talk, however. Really open-ended, tangential discussions based on images that they're being prompted with. Anything else we should say about that?
That's great. Yeah.
It's also the first time Natalie and I kind of worked together, because there was a video portion of the show that we did together.
Yeah, for me, at the same time, my dad had just moved into a personal care home, and he was experiencing dementia and complications related to Parkinson's disease. And at that time, I was trying to find like creative ways to still like have like communication with him. So I was going there with my camera and just documenting our time spent together. And I think I became really interested in the idea that like when I was working at Misericordia, I was just meeting people where they were at in their like present state and really enjoying my time with them. And then, you know, when I would visit my dad, there was obviously a lot of like history that we had that I was like grieving or experiencing loss around. But I was trying to like just be with him how he was in that moment and kind of try to find playful ways to still spend time together in a way that felt connecting. And so Toby had invited me to do some interviews with residents, kind of what he was describing, where we would just sit with people at Misericordia and ask them about their art and any stories they had or what kinds of things it prompted, which I just thought was amazing because these people were so full of life and it just really brought me a lot of joy. And we interviewed Edith at that point, but she speaks very softly. She has a voice disorder, and she often speaks like kind of in tangents and goes down different paths. So she can be quite hard to understand. So we actually didn't use that interview for this exhibition.
Oh yeah, so yeah, within that context is how we started connecting with Edith. Yeah, we didn't understand her. It was actually when we were like, if I could just go off for a second.
Please.
When we were interviewing her for this film, we were doing it through the window. We're going to get to this later, but it's coming out of my mouth now. So we had a little microphone in her window, and I was talking on my phone, kind of like a megaphone, and I kept interrupting her when she was saying the most amazing things because you just can't understand her to sit and speak with her really, but that's partly, you know, what's so such a gift to be able to that we got to be able to hear her. But someone that is many of the other residents living in a facility like Misericordia, and they don't have an opportunity to share their stories or what they have to share because we wouldn't have been able to hear her. So from that first experience of interviewing her, we learned that she needed to have several microphones, one really close to her, and then it was nice. It's good that we had that first experience that didn't work out.
So here's another drawing that Edith, that either Toby or I or another recreation facilitator would have made with her. So when Edith makes art, she comes to the art program and then we sit with her and then we offer like painting and drawing tools. And then she would just kind of draw or paint whatever she was interested in. But often she would title her drawings, "Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying." And that was something that that is something she repeats quite a bit. So there's a few drawings in here that are with that title. This is your animation.
Oh. We're just sharing. This is, I guess we clicked with her, you know, our personalities. So I, at one point, was just learning how to animate and experimenting, and I did this short piece with her in 2016.
Just like silver and shining, not shiny, it's flickering beauty, you know, come and go. The moon is like my face, beautiful. Just.
And then I was also making drawings. I liked making drawings of the residents, sometimes when I was sitting with them or if I had taken photos with them. But I draw more in black and white, less colorful.
It occurred to us when looking back on this that it's these two works are really the foundation for the film in a way. Like besides also including Edith's drawings, but that Edith talking about herself as the moon and that sort of imagery I developed and Natalie's ink drawings.
So this was in 2019. We went and visited her. At the time, she was quite sick, and so we were concerned that she might soon pass away. So we wanted, now that I knew a little bit more about recording audio from interviews, we put a personal mic on her, and then we did this long interview for about an hour where we just showed her drawings and just let the conversation go in all kinds of directions. But then we never looked at the interview because I think we were both just busy with other things until 2020 when we were both stuck at home, and I think you had been making animations, and so I dropped off an iPad.
Yeah,
And
we listened back to her interview, and she just, like, it just blew our minds, the incredible things she was saying. Really hearing her for the first time. When we would sit with her at the art table, you could hear what she was saying, but it just didn't have the same sort of structure and storytelling that you can gather when you can really hear her. So we went back and did this interview process that I described earlier through her window with a speaker inside. You can see Natalie pushing art against the window, and I'm sitting back and listening to her and asking questions, and I'm still cutting her off inappropriately because she was just saying the best things, and until I listened back after, didn't quite understand. Yeah, we interviewed her for about 4 hours, and the film is 7 minutes, but in all of those interviews we saw these like recurring themes coming back and again. When we had interviewed her in 2019, we were looking at her art, and she had sort of like fantasies about nature and talking about just like the beauty of the trees outside her window. A lot of themes of like escaping her physical space where she is in her room, and traveling in her imagination. When we went back to interview her in 2020 or 2021, she looked at all of her art, and it was all about her son dying. So there was different stories kind of tied to that, and that was something that we observed in her, and yeah.
I think just as a side note, that spring in 2020 we approached Alicia about working with the National Film Board to work on this project, and the process that we went through with them allowed us to really dive into the story in a really meaningful way. And so I just wanted to thank the National Film Board again for that opportunity to
we received a lot of mentorship and support in crafting the story, and it would have been a lot more meandering and long, and I was really, really bent on it being like 15 minutes, and then it had to be 5, so I took all the breath out, and it was like, just Edith's voice talking really fast without breathing, and that made sense to me at the time. Anyways, so it's a short film, but we really feel like it contains the essence of those almost 5 hours of conversations. And then even as we were finishing the film, finishing the animation, we were taking lines out because it was said in another way. I kind of talked about that already, about how it's about, this is Edith and her son. I thought it would be worth noting that like the experience of sitting and listening to Edith talk for 4 hours, and then really spending weeks and weeks conversing with Natalie and the NFB team about what she was saying, and the emphasis on what she was saying being like really a person older in age, and just really going back to the early moments of her child's life, singing lullabies, talking about when he was a baby, and I was at that point about to become a parent, and so it really created a framework for me in what it means to become a parent, and that was just I feel really grateful for that, and there's she's grown over the years. Toby mentioned this, but having so much time to just talk about these ideas around the table in the studio with like little Gigi around, and Toby's partner Justine was also home on mat leave, and the neighbor Steve,
and we just like hung out a lot and talked. And I think that really the film grew from that, but also just I feel like my own understanding of imagination and grief and loss was transformed through that process of having that time to just talk with people about it through making art.
So this slide shows sort of our process of creating the world in the film visually. We wanted it to look like it was all of our hands working, all of our imaginations working together. We didn't want it. Well, the story is also, the three of us. The way it's Edith's story, it's our storytelling. So there's our three minds working on that, and our three hands, or our three sets of hands, working on the drawings as well. So we used some of Edith's artwork as reference for images in the film, and this one in particular looks more like her drawings. Some of them are our drawings inspired by her words, and then sort of this fine balance of making it look like Edith's drawings, but very obviously our drawings. She has like a shake and has difficulty holding drawing tools, and we didn't want to emulate that necessarily, but we wanted to show how we appreciate it. That was a sort of a complex thing in our character design. The image on the right is from the film, and the other two are drawings that we made with Edith. Okay, yeah. This drawing is the one Edith holds in the film. It's one of the ones where she picks up, and in the film she says, "Don't let the sun catch you crying," and that's just what she did when she picked it up. It's a drawing that when she made it, I asked her what it was, and she said, "My son." And so we were wanting sort of a character to represent her son in sort of this dream imagination world in the film. And so we call it Son Boy, but it's her son. And then we also we developed that character in our film. The image on the right is just a weird artifact of digital drawing, all the layers of an animation in one.
And so we had those 4 hours of interviews, and like Toby was saying, there was a story that was emerging from it, but then we needed to build a visual world around what she was saying, and with animation, ways to move from scene to scene and to make it feel cohesive. So we spent a lot of time just thumbnailing, so making tiny drawings and lining them up with the lines and seeing how the imagery could relate and help tell the story of what she was saying. And then that also involved making even more detailed drawings, and then later an animatic, which is like a storyboard with visuals to kind of explore how these shapes and characters were going to move and how they were going to interact with the video. And then we spent a long time figuring out the character of Edith as the moon. And so I call this the Toby 10, which is you make 10 drawings of the same idea, and maybe you do that 20 times until you get something that makes sense and looks good. And that usually I do one drawing and I'm it's perfect or it's terrible. Though if you make 50 of them, then you have a lot of choices. But then, there's lots of stupid ones like this.
And then we just started seeing our character in everything.
All over Facebook Marketplace. There's another funny artifact. I don't know what happened there. Potato heads. And then for the times when Edith was talking as the moon, we rotoscoped the video of her speaking. So that's when you, frame by frame, you draw over top the lines of her face to make that motion. But that took up some time to figure out too. So because when you make an animation we made it over 14 months, the actual drawings that you see on the wall. And so to have consistency, we had to really decide in advance what everything would look like, what size of brush we would use, what ratio of ink to water was appropriate, and also what the best paper was. At one point we went to Staples and we took one piece of paper from every available paper brand and left. And then found that the best paper by far was this one particular paper in an orange bag.
Only one good one.
Only one good one. And we bought Best Buy. We bought all the paper that was available from Best Buy.
Online too.
Yeah. Oh,
Is that
yes.
good to talk about?
That's great. My second love is spreadsheets. And so we spent a lot of time, which worked really well because when you make an animation, you have to plan everything. And you also have to convince other people that you should make it. So we spent a lot of time figuring out what the workflow would be, from like ideas to making the animation, and then from sound design, scanning frames, if and when we were going to use digital tools, and then exactly how long each frame would take to draw. And then we plotted that over a year, which at the end of that was really relaxing because we knew for 14 months from Tuesday to Friday exactly what we were supposed to be doing. And then we had a great line producer, Leticia, who would make sure we were on track every day, which was very helpful.
Just some ink recipes. Some of us drawing. Another thing we had to control for was the way we have different hands, and we wanted it to look, somewhat consistent. So Natalie and I had to take turns drawing frames or drawing sections of drawings. I don't know, we really decided that we wanted to make sure each of us touched or like painted on every frame. So we had to figure out systems to do that. I would draw the body of something, and Natalie would do all the faces or whatever, or we'd go back and forth frame by frame.
Do you want to talk about the black ink?
Oh yeah. Much of the film, you can see on the walls in the gallery, a lot of the drawings are done in black and white ink, or just black ink. We used like a special mix of gray, actually. And the reason we did that is we wanted the film to look like watercolor paint, but to change and shift colors in a way that we couldn't animate. So we did it in grayscale, and then we colored it in After Effects and had it shift. So we just had to plan that in advance, and it worked nicely. But that's why you see much of the drawing is done in black and white, or sections of it. Some just done in color ink. We had, mostly we just made it with, just drawing with paper and frame by frame. We had to create some reference material to guide our motion and animation and perspective. And I think there's some really strange artifacts from that. This is one of them from the scene where the sun and the moon are spinning around. There's lots of more strange artifacts we'll share later. Then we also, we were making this film, we were drawing frame by frame, it was taking forever. And then this was the time where all this, there was a lot of like AI tools coming out for video and images. And we thought we should probably explore those because it might save us some time. So we have a couple of examples of, this one, it's like a predictive video thing. So I thought, why don't I put this in and maybe it'll draw the next frame. And so we got this. And then this one, we were trying to just get like what Edith's face would look like if it was just different perspective. And so I tried, we didn't find those.
The 3D scan.
I was trying to 3D scan her, but she kept wiggling, and it's really, really deranged looking. But then we found this one, and we didn't use it, but it's yeah.
It's pretty weird.
There's another project in that. Oh no.
I made Toby include this.
I wanted a natural wiggling rotation that I couldn't get when I was using Blender. It was too robotic, so I was trying to get something more natural. So you can see it now. Okay, that's enough of that. Nope. How do you get it? Okay. And then I was in the shower one day, and it just dawned on me: we don't need to use these computer tools. We can just use crumpled paper and things that we have in my messy basement. So then we have this perfect solution. That was our reference for the moon turning at the end. And I don't know what that drawing is. I was maybe mouthing the words because we needed to rotoscope like lip motion. We didn't want to do like a mouth pack, like a cartoon where you have different motions for different syllables. We wanted it to look like smooth motion, like her lips moving, or my lips moving, or Natalie's lips moving. Anyways, where would it go?
Just try again. Oh,
Do you click? No, no, no.
click again.
There, sideways. What's this?
Oh. Yes.
No, 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 no. It's too loud. So yeah, then we for anything we needed reference material, we made puppets out of masking tape and paper, and it worked really well.
But as we went along, Toby developed more and more refined puppetry techniques. Which you wouldn't know, maybe, but you need that for it to look convincing.
We wanted it to look like really loose and like boily and weird, but in order to do that, it had to have this like foundation of smooth movement. Otherwise, it just looked too chaotic. So that's why we made reference material like this and this. Wait, no, don't touch that.
Just click it again.
No. So this is the end of the film. We've entered Edith's imagination.
Movie magic.
No.
And then at certain points, we, for the scene with the butterflies, I think we made like 12 butterflies. Just paper on like a piece of wood, and then we had string on them, and we would just flap them. And then we used those to make reference material for the cloud. So this is like kind of what we started with collaging before we did the ink drawing. You can play it again, maybe.
No, it's okay.
All right.
It's late. We gotta move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we, just rotoscoped those videos that we made, those animations that we made with ink, and then composited it digitally. And then we have our final look. Throughout the process, we visited Edith often and showed her, made sure it was okay with her what we were doing and that she understood what was happening. And this is what she said one time, one of the many times.
It is just wonderful. It is so much like me. Not much. But I gave what I had, it's all in there.
What a treat to hear that.
Yeah.
No. Oh, we don't need to talk about this.
No,
Or that. No, we don't need to talk about that.
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess it made me laugh when we were reviewing our footage because I kept telling Natalie that it was my studio was on the left, and I kept telling her that it was just a mess because we had kids and I didn't have time to clean. And then I found this picture from like Justine and mine's apartment from 2010 or something. And that was my studio room then too. So I guess I'm just one of those people. I think better that way. This is how Natalie naps. And then we have a collection of just sort of funny ephemera that we, when we were thinking about how to put this show together, we were looking through sort of images that we found or screenshots we took during the things we were compiling, and this was some of the inspiration. Many of them are just sort of many frames layered on top of each other. And this technique we discovered drawing together, which we really like, which is that we were drawing every frame on one page and then using a virtual camera to move it around to go frame by frame. And we've been making other drawings like that now too. Okay.
One thing that's been really nice about this whole process is working so closely together. We just have to talk about our ideas all the time so the other person understands. And so all these ideas that I have in my head come out, and then Toby understands them, but he understands them in a different way. And what we end up with is kind of like a third brain we've been talking about. And that's just been like a really nice part about making this film and kind of developing that process that we've continued working on in that way. And then spending so much time with Edith and her words. We mentioned this earlier, but I think, having 4 years to just talk about ideas like grief and love and imagination and memory and what they mean to each of us. And then in the film, kind of finding a shared vision between the three of us has been really special. And then I think since then, I've just been really interested in like what imagination is and what memories are. And listening to podcasts, like I was listening to one thing on, I think it was Radio Lab, that was talking about how when you have a dream and you see someone in your dream, like someone's face, like someone who's dead or no longer part of your life, seeing their face activates the same part of your brain as seeing a face in real life. So physiologically, it's the same experience as being with that person. And then Toby and I have often talked about how, there's people in our lives that we only see once a year, or maybe once a month. But the idea of them is still very close to us, and that's very real. And so what Edith is talking about in the film is a very real thing. Like she's like with her son.
Yeah. I think similar to what I talked about earlier and listening to her speak about, her young son as I was becoming a parent. The film took quite a while to make, and it holds like very big moments for me in my life. Like my daughter being born just before we began, and then our son was born just as we finished, and then just when it was released, my mother died. And I guess listening to her and talking with Natalie and the whole team about all of these things during this process has given me a real framework for how to think about being a parent and losing a parent. And even though I know the film is about, it's about Edith sitting there and she gets kind of carried away in a thought, and that it follows that energy of her sort of losing herself for a bit in a thought. And I was aware of, obviously, that that's what the film's about, but it wasn't until recently that I really realized how real that is and how good it feels to have a dream or a memory of someone or imagine someone that you've lost, and how you can actually be with them in a way that feels kind of real. And felt really significant. That whatever. Too many tears. I'm stopping. This image. I mean, the eclipse that everyone experienced, or a lot of people participated in, was really beautiful to see everyone watching and being together in this moment, observing something happening in the sky, and then the idea, like in the film, the sun and moon come together in this eclipse, and it's kind of like the peak of Edith imagining being with her son. And so it was really interesting to have those things coinciding, and then to also look back on her drawings and to see something that really kind of, I think to us, symbolized something like that. And so thanks for coming. What I wrote, I was trying to think of something. I was like, I'm going to cry. I wonder what I should say after I cry. We wanted to ask if anyone had any questions. I know probably we've gone over time a little bit. So maybe, Hannah, do you have an opinion? We could talk to you after.
Yeah, you could come up to each of us and ask us questions. Maybe we'll go with that, yeah. So that's all that we're gonna say. I just wanted to also introduce Sam and Gil again, and thanks so much. Where are they? There's one, there's another. It's been really lovely to work with another artistic duo. So friends who work together on creative projects and are neighbors. And we're just so grateful that you were part of the process, and what you made and brought to it, like, transformed it. And sound is so important. Animation would be nothing without sound. And just some funny things, like Andy and Kelsey, who did the sound design, and they used a lot of field recordings from their own libraries, like using a rattlesnake as a way to for the sound of plants growing. And then they also recorded live Foley in Montreal for the film, and one of the things that the Foley artist used was a bowling ball in a bathtub for the sound of the planets going around each other. And then these layers and layers, like in the sound mixing studio, we just saw like hundreds of layers of like Sam's voice and like Gil's guitar and Rudolph's, like, I don't know what he does actually, and he makes sounds, and then Kelsey's field recordings, like layered like 100 deep, just to like make this sound that is kind of otherworldly and envelops you. And so we wanted to have Sam and Gil here to celebrate with us, and they're going to play some music, just, you know, the way they do, and then, but people, you can, like, I would invite you to like sit up and walk around and chat, and it's you don't need to, it's not a sit-down performance.
It's more like a background music.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything else?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Even before